Hey, I'm Mark. If you've ever worked a low-paying, thankless job, you know what it's like to feel invisible. That was me, a cleaner in a corporate office, blending into the background while everyone else went about their business. People barely noticed me. Most didn't even care to look me in the eye. I was just a nameless face, pushing a broom or wiping down desks, moving through their day like I was a part of the furniture. But what they didn't know, what nobody knew, was that I wasn't just some random janitor. I wasn't just the cleaner. I was Mark Thompson, the son of the company's founder, working my way up from the very bottom. I was learning the ropes, not as a CEO's kid who was handed everything, but as someone who had to earn his place. And one day, that fact was going to hit them all in the face. But before I dive into this story, if you're enjoying the narrative, don't forget to subscribe and comment down below. It really helps the channel, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. Now, let's get into it. The office was buzzing with the usual hum of phones ringing, keyboards clacking, and endless chatter. To everyone else, it was just another workday. But for me, it was just another day of being unnoticed. I had been working at the corporate office for nearly 2 months now, but you wouldn't have known that by how I was treated. As the cleaner, my job was to sweep through the office after everyone had left, scrub the floors, empty the trash bins, and sanitize the desks. All the things that people rarely appreciate unless it's missing. I knew all the employees by sight, but they rarely looked at me twice. They'd walk past me like I was invisible. If I was lucky, I might get a good morning, but that was rare. I didn't mind. I wasn't here to be their friend. I was here to learn the business, observe the ins and outs of how the company operated, and figure out where I fit into it. I'd been doing this for a while, and it wasn't as bad as it sounded. In fact, I kind of liked the anonymity of it. No one expected me to do anything spectacular. I was just the guy with the mop and bucket, walking through the hallways, wiping down countertops, and taking care of the things nobody else wanted to do. But that all changed the day Erica started. She was the new manager in the HR department, and from the moment she stepped in, I could tell she had that "I'm better than you" vibe. You know the type, confident to the point of arrogance. She was sharp, professional, and from the way she carried herself, I knew she was aiming for something higher. Nothing wrong with ambition, but her attitude toward people like me? That was another story. She walked through the office with a smug smile, as if she owned the place, strutting by without even a glance in my direction. And that was fine. I didn't need her attention. But then, something happened that set the tone for everything that was to come. One afternoon, as I was pushing my cart through the HR department, I heard a voice behind me. "Hey, you," Erica called out, her voice sharp. I turned to face her, trying to be polite. "Yes, ma'am." She looked me up and down, a faint sneer curling at the corners of her mouth. "I need you to clean this up now. You've missed a spot in the conference room. And frankly, I don't have time to deal with this right now." I was used to being spoken to dismissively, but this felt different. There was an edge to her tone that made my blood boil. I nodded, keeping my cool. "I'll get to it right away." But before I could walk off, she added, almost as an afterthought, "You know, it's a shame people like you are so invisible around here. Just a cleaner, huh?" Her words stung. I didn't react, though. I just grabbed my mop and walked away, silently fuming. Just a cleaner. That's all she thought of me. That's all anyone thought of me. But what she didn't know was that I wasn't just a cleaner. I was Mark Thompson, and I had a bigger plan. For the next few weeks, I went about my job like I always did, cleaning, sweeping, and staying out of the way. But something had shifted inside me. Erica's words lingered in my mind like a bad smell. Just a cleaner. It didn't bother me that she looked down on me. What bothered me was the assumption that just because I was a cleaner, I was somehow less than the people who worked in their shiny office suites. I had grown up in this company. My father had built it from the ground up, and I had been raised in the midst of all the business dealings. But I had made a decision. I didn't want people to know who I was. I didn't want to be treated differently because of my last name. I wanted to see the company for what it really was, and I wanted to earn my place, not have it handed to me. So every day, I observed. I learned the lingo, listened to the conversations, watched how the executives carried themselves, and paid close attention to how they handled problems. It wasn't always glamorous, but it was the most valuable education I could get. Erica, however, was still clueless about who I was. She continued to treat me with the same condescension, never sparing a second thought. She would talk to me like I was a ghost, barking orders when it suited her. I was just a cleaner, nothing more. But I wasn't angry anymore. If anything, I felt pity. Because humility was something you couldn't fake, and sooner or later, everyone had to face their own lessons in it. Months passed. I kept doing my job quietly, staying in the background, letting things unfold. And then, one day, it happened. My father, the founder of the company, announced he was stepping down as CEO and retiring. It was a decision he'd been mulling over for a while, but the timing had caught everyone by surprise. He'd kept his retirement plans a secret, and the company was left scrambling. The board of directors had already begun discussing candidates for the new CEO. There was talk of a high-profile outsider taking over, someone with experience in big corporations who could scale the business even further. I hadn't planned on being involved. I wasn't ready to take on such a responsibility yet. But then, a letter was delivered to me, an official company memo requesting my presence at the next board meeting. I'd been working my way up in my own way, in the shadows, learning everything I could. And now, the board had decided it was time for me to step into my role. It was an opportunity I couldn't turn down. When I walked into the boardroom as the new CEO, I could see the shock in everyone's eyes. And there, in the back of the room, sat Erica, her mouth hanging open, her face pale as she saw me take my place at the head of the table. The room went quiet. No one knew what to say. I cleared my throat, sitting comfortably in the CEO's chair. I'd like to thank everyone for their hard work. We've got a lot to discuss today, but first I'd like to introduce myself properly. For those of you who don't know me yet, I'm Mark Thompson, the new CEO. A silence followed. Then, a faint murmur. Erica, in particular, looked like she had seen a ghost. Her eyes flicked from me to the wall behind me, where the company's logo and my father's name had been prominently displayed for years. But today, it was my name. She had no idea. None of them did. The transition wasn't easy. People had gotten used to seeing me as the cleaner, the invisible man behind the scenes. Now I was in charge, and they had to adjust. But I didn't throw my newfound power in anyone's face. I didn't demand respect. I didn't need to. I kept my approach grounded in humility. I listened more than I spoke, and when I made decisions, I made sure they were thoughtful, not impulsive. I wanted to prove that my worth wasn't just about my last name, but about my ability to lead the company with integrity and a clear vision. Erica? Well, she became a case study in humility. She apologized for how she'd treated me in the past. At first, it felt awkward, but over time, I could tell she had learned her lesson. She became more respectful, more willing to work alongside me as an equal, even though we both knew things would never be quite the same. Months later, the company was thriving under my leadership. We had expanded our reach, improved employee satisfaction, and launched a new product line. I was no longer the invisible cleaner. I was the CEO, running the company my father had started, but now I was putting my own mark on it. One afternoon, Erica came into my office, carrying a coffee cup. She stood there for a moment, hesitant, before setting the cup down on my desk. "I just wanted to say thank you," she said quietly, "for not holding anything against me, for teaching me what true leadership is." I nodded. We all have lessons to learn, and I had learned the most important lesson of all. Respect and humility are the true measures of character, not the title you hold or the position you're in. People will forget what you say, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And Erica would remember that day, just like I would, because in the end, it was never about being the CEO. It was about the way you treated people, no matter who they were or what their job was.